Good Tuesday afternoon, everyone, and happy New Year's Eve to all of you out there. Before you come in the chat, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video. It's been a very windy day outside, and yesterday my internet was out for 7 hours, so I don't know what happened, but you know that technical stuff can really get you after a while. So anyway, it's good to see you, Laura, out in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. But it's starting to get cold. The reality of winter is certainly starting to come in. I know it's like, you would have thought it would have went out when we had all the wind the day before, but it waited till go out until yesterday. And I came up here and was trying to get online, and I'm like, oops. So I didn't realize that the cable was out, and naturally they couldn't call because, and even the cell phone service, it said emergency calls only. So there is some construction going on up the road where they're making a new roadway for an entrance to it's a Circle K that sells diesel fuel for the big trucks as well as gas. But I don't know if they hit something while they were digging or what. But, my daughter has Verizon. She couldn't make any phone calls neither. So therefore, Spectrum couldn't call us because we still have a landline, but if you don't have any internet or nothing, you're not going to get anything. So you just wait. But we have another option on our TV where we can switch over to regular TV and watch that. So I went to the Y last night, and by the time I came home, it was back on, and thank goodness, because it's like, wow. 7 hours. So, you would think that technology would be a little better and that when something happens, you wouldn't be out for an eternity, but that's what happened. So, as you know, today's lesson is on having a servant's heart, which I think is very important in the role of a Christian to have that, because it totally exemplifies that you are loving that person and that you are serving them, which in return means that, they feel that and they know that you're a Christian, because that's what Christians do. I'm not saying other people don't help everyone, but that's one of the things that God set in the Bible, that is mentioned in several scriptures in the Bible about having a servant's heart. So I think the most important one is in Matthew 20, verse 28. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. Now, I think that's one of the big ones right there. I'm sure as he walked the earth and he, as a human being, before he was crucified, that he was a servant to other people. I really believe that. And, and that's, he expects that of us today, to be that one that steps out there and helps someone, and to be, for the love to flow through us, that they absolutely know that we are Christian people. So let's see here. We'll go this way. I don't know why that's doing that. It's always good to be This is a real good paragraph. Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men, and being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Therefore, God also hath highly exalted him and given him a name which he is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. And that is in Philippines, the second Philippines, verses 5 through 11. So I thought that that was a good one. And, having a servant's heart is where you put someone else's needs beyond your own. And it has to do with gratitude and humbleness and just willing to help other people. And sometimes, in life we experience this where we have this friend and they need something and you just can't do it. The timing's not right. And then they start saying, well, I did this for you. Well, first of all, that is not a true friend. A true friend does not count what has been done for them, but they rejoice in it. So if you are around someone that's doing that, it's like, you're thinking, why are you keeping tabulations of things that we do for each other? That's not what friendship and love is about, but we do know that happens. That happened to me. So, yeah, that's a big one right there. When you're someone's friend, you do things out of your heart and out of love, not to expect something in return. But there are those who do count the cost, so to speak, which we totally should not do. It's not right. And, you're thinking, well, did this person do something for me so that I could return the favor? And then when I can't do it, I'm a bad person. No, you're not a bad person. You just can't do what they want to at the time because, be it you're busy and you have your own life as well. But that does happen, and it happened to me too. So, and as parents, we aspire to teach our children that being a Jesus style servant means to look at our Lord as our guide, our example, and our strength, remembering to take the focus off our needs and put others first. Jesus' life was so full of beautiful examples of this. He healed the sick, washed his feet, the feet of his friends, took time out of his ministry to listen and hold children, and then he died on the cross for the sins of the world. So, that is a classic. I think during the life and time of Jesus, everything he did was for an example for everyone to follow. You know, you have to, sometimes there's a difference between being a inspiration and trying to control the actions of other people. An inspiration are those who do what is right and put forth that love into the world, and the one who controls, I mean, they just want people to do things their way or no way. And see, there's a big difference between that. You know, uh, like you hear the saying, plant those seeds. Well, you plant the seed, and whatever, sometimes good things, good fruit comes from that seed. But it was the thought that you initially did that in the first place that would possibly help another person is what God looks at. He knows our motives, He knows our heart, He knows what we're going to do next. And, He knows when we're hurting, He knows. And really, I think, really, in my way of thinking, I think God hurts as well as we are hurting because, in fact, He is our creator and the reason why that we are here in the first place. And He doesn't, of course, He doesn't want His children. He tells us not to worry because there's enough worry in a day. And He tells us to be good of faith because that's what carries us through everything in our life. Having that faith to know that tomorrow is absolutely another day and there's nothing that cannot be accomplished when we turn to God and ask for His guidance, and He will never let us down. He is always there. Will the answer come right when we think it will? No, it will not. But when it does come, you will know without a doubt that has been an answer to your prayers. But sometimes we live in a world where people believe, well, there's always an ulterior motive to serving other people, which we spoke about a minute ago, and it should not be. I have always been told that I am different. And I said, well, why do you say that? And they can't tell me. So I guess it's just something that they see in me that may be a little not atypical of a regular person. I don't know. They've never told me. So there's nothing wrong with being different as long as you are different in the correct mode. But, I've always liked to give, I think that's why a lot of times when I'm out, a lot of people will just come up to me and start talking. They don't know who I am. But I think there's that trust there and they just start opening up. And I think that is my gift that God has given me to give people the comfort. And, God knows what a person's best talent is. And I think He does send people that may be heavy laden to people that He knows that care enough about people to give guidance. And sometimes people just want you to listen to them, that there's so many things in their heart that is just so overwhelming that they just and it manifests in different things like depression and just hopelessness and things like that. But our hope is in Jesus Christ, that one day after the sufferings of this world is over, we will be with Him in paradise. And we know it's the truth. We know it because when Jesus comes into your heart, I think there is a moment there of enlightening that you just know that, his word is true and His word is just and His word will stand till the end of time. He says, I will be with you even to the end of the ages. And that's very true. And sometimes we just have to be patient, and which is not one of my strongholds, and I admit that, but we have to be patient and just know that there are better things coming. There is, for those who believe in Jesus Christ, there is life after death, that we will not have to suffer that second death. When Jesus died on the cross, the price, the ransom was already paid. And, like I said, it was one of the greatest acts of love ever committed. So I think when we read our Bible, we need to pattern ourselves after the good deeds that Jesus had done. And He was the Son of God and He served many people, you know, um, he was the exalted one, but he was sent down to be an example to all mankind that, first of all, that we should love each other and have a servant's heart to let people know that, there are people in this world who will open up their heart to other people and help them. I've always been a helper. I think it's in my DNA, and I'm telling you, that had to have came from my mother. I know it did because, after I do the mathematics, it just seemed the right call there. And but yeah, being a servant means to humble yourself to other people, and you just have to put your heart and your time out there to people who need it. I believe no good deed goes unrewarded. Not that we do things for reward. We do things because the love of God is in our heart, and that's what He expects us to do. It's just comes along with the everything like that. And another verse in here is Mark 10, the 45th verse. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. So let's go through here. And there again in Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another in humbly in love. And there's so many references. Here's one in John 13, verses 14 through 15. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set an example that you should do as I have done for you. So there is another one in Peter. Each of you should use whatever gift, and I talked about that earlier, you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God, grace in its various forms. And I do believe each person is blessed with a gift. And it says plainly, if you do not use the gift that you have been given, it will be given to someone else. So if we've been given a gift, and there's many kinds of gifts that God gives us, and we must use those for the grace of God, because that's what He expects. So they're in Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 through 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition, we talked about that, or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interest of others. And there's another example in Mark chapter 9, verse 35. Sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, anyone who wants to be first must be very last and the servant of all. And I think that's in reverence to, like, as far as, when the end of time comes, being I think in this life, being first is so important to people. But it says plainly in the Bible, the first will be last and the last will be first. And a lot of times people that have a lot of money believe they should be first, but money will not, you cannot buy yourself into heaven. And, you even good deeds, you can do good deeds, but getting into heaven entails more than that. It is the belief in God and loving Him with all your self and all your mind, and He knows the difference. You can do good works And there's nothing wrong with that. But that in itself will not get you to heaven. And it does say in the Bible that the path to heaven is very narrow and very few will find it. If you're going to be inherit the kingdom of heaven, you have to do all that is expected in your life. And sometimes we have to swallow our pride, and pride is a big one. That is another one that will get us in trouble every time, because that doesn't enable us to bless someone else, because there has to be humility and the willingness to serve other people above yourself. And when someone uh, exemplifies that, it says a lot about that person, and it's very pleasing in the eyes of the Lord and what He expects us to do. Another one in Romans 12, verse 10: be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourself. And that's another good one. There's another one in Colossians chapter 3, verses 23 and 24. Whatever you do to work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving, which I believe that's a good one. And you have to serve with humility. And sometimes when that pride gets in the way, we're kind of want to stand off in the distance and or look over the fence and not cross the threshold sometime. So another one is in Acts 20, verse 35. In everything I did, I showed you that by this kind of hard work, we must help the weak, remembering the words the Lord Jesus himself said, it is more blessed to give than receive. So we just have had Christmas, which there's a lot of gift giving during that season, and I'm more of a I mean, everyone likes to receive, but I'm more of a giver, because I like to. I don't know. It just enlightens people to know that, hey, this person actually. Hey, Joanne, welcome in, sweetie. That this person actually cared enough about me to do this for me, and it really leaves a lasting impression on a person. And it is nice to receive, but it's more important to give, because God expects us to give, and He expects us to be an example to other people. That's what He expects. So there's another one in Luke chapter 22, verse 27. For who is greater, the one who is at the table, or the one who serves? It is not the one who is at the table, but I am among you as the one who serves. So, when Jesus was alive on the earth, and the things that he served other people, and he was just totally, I mean, he was indeed a blameless man. But he was betrayed, and things were said that were not true. And therefore, but, he knew that, God did not send his son to, he did not send his son to destroy the earth. He sent his son to save it, because he knew what was going to happen. And that's why he sent his son down here to live the life of a human being and to serve other people. And through his service of other people, the others that observe that should have really learned a lesson by that. But sometimes we can be very selfish at times, and that I'm not, that's one of those little tendencies that we have, and sometimes we grow out of that, sometimes we don't. And there's something else in Hebrews 6, the 10th verse. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. So being having a servant's heart is something that it's continual. It doesn't. Um, you see someone in need and you're able to help them, then that's what we should do. We should reach out to those who are downtrodden and have lost all faith in humanity, and just reach out and say, hey, I'm here for you. What do you need? And that is a characteristic that is so, in today's time, is so kind of unheard of, because we live in a fast-paced world, and we forget, as far as going back to being that, having a servant's heart. Have we forgotten how Jesus has served us? If we think about it in that realm, we really, he died for us. He made a way that we will not know death, and that we can live forever in paradise, in that city not made with hands. And we're really so blessed. You know, sometimes we go through things and we think, how can I serve somebody else? I'm going through this myself. But it does say that it's very therapeutic to help someone during your time of crisis. And I know that sounds off the wall, but it really is. Sometimes there are lessons to be learned in being a servant's heart, and there's so many attributes that come into play on that. But I think sometimes if we plant the seed of generosity and love and giving and patience, that it really gives that person a better outlook on their life. And then after a while, they've seen how that direct act made them feel. So they want to, it's in their heart, and they want someone else to receive that same blessing. And I really believe that. And I think sometimes that Joanne says, I'm always willing to help people. I am so happy if I can help. I've always been one to help. It gives me joy to help. Yes, Joanne, it does me too. Because you know what? When we help others and we have that servant's heart, there's a joy, and I'm sure you can identify with this, Joanne, in our hearts that is indescribable. Just the joy and the peace and the warmth, and just you can't even describe it. And God puts that there, and we should be so so overwhelmed by peace that we can't even describe, the joy, the happiness, the just knowing that you changed another person's life, that maybe no one else would help, and you may not have even known that person, but yet you were willing to have that servant's heart and help that person be have what they need. And therefore, like I said, no good deed goes unnoticed, and I really believe that. So another one is in 1 Timothy 4 through 12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in the conduct, in love, and in faith and purity. Now, I believe this verse right here describes a lot of how Jesus was when he walked on the earth. And it's sometimes I'll say something and then I'll find that verse. I do things in reverse sometimes, but boy, I felt like that was really a good one. And another one, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 7, wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people, which that's a good one too, because after all, God did create all people, and Jesus was his son. So I think that's a good one right there. Wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people. I think sometimes the Lord uses us as instruments of mercy to other people and grace. I believe that totally. I don't think that you coming across a person that needs something and you're willing to have that servant's heart is a coincidence, because I believe God sends people or puts them in the same area where another person can help them, because it's not a coincidence. I really believe he does arrange things to the benefit of other people. I really do. So Matthew 25, verse 40. The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. So that's another good one. Also, moving down, Corinthians chapter 4, verse 5. For what we preach is not ourselves, Lord, and ourselves as your servants for Jesus' sake. There's another one in James chapter 1, verse 27. Religion that God our Father accepts us as pure and faultless in this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Boy, I tell you, that last, to keep oneself being polluted by the world. I remember saying back, I think it was last time, that do you ever feel like you're in the world but not part of it? Yes, Laura, amen. And I think that has a lot to do with, I think Laura can connect with that. Reading her YouTube post, I think that really is very telling of having, young children and being out in a world and the word polluted. And that's, in fact, that is like, having your apples in a basket and putting a bad apple in there, and it spoils the whole bunch. But yes, we are, Laura said, raising teens these days is just crazy. That's right, is now wrong in the world. That's true. I mean, our young people are exposed to so much. And the thing about young people, they kind of like to emulate their friends, or maybe innocently be involved in something that looks totally innocent but is totally wrong. Yeah, lots of prayer, because this world, we live in a world that, I tell you, there's temptations around every corner, and we have to arm them with the armor as well. And the thing of it is, the best thing that you can do with a child is have that line of communication open. I know a lot of times children may be a little fearful to talk to their parent because they think they're going to get in trouble. In fact, it may keep them out of trouble. And that's good, to have a relationship with your children where they feel like they can come to you if something's wrong. and say, hey, this is what's going on, and there's so much peer pressure out there, and I don't know what to do. I want to be a part of something, but I know it's not right. And what can I do to avoid being put in the mix of something that I know is wrong? And yet they want friends. And sometimes, guys, you have to turn and walk away and say, hey, before you do it, hey, I know this isn't right. And I was taught better than this, and I don't want any part of it. But, we get that as we mature, but a young person still being very influenced by other people, they want to be liked. A lot of them want to be popular. It's just, there's always that popular person in school that everyone wants to emulate and be around. And 9 times out of 10, the popular one is not a very nice person. And therefore, they're putting their self above other people. When in fact, and a lot of it has to do with money. While this person's driving this big fancy car and they're a sophomore or junior in high school and they're driving this big fancy car, and it makes people flock around them. Let people flock around people because of the person they are, not what material thing they have. Because a car, it can break down, somebody could crash into it, and like that. Vest yourself in something that is good and right. But like I said, I remember when I was a youngster in high school, and there were popularity contests. There really were. And I was just me, and I didn't think I was better than anyone else, and or anyone was better than me. We were all the same age, and that's the way I looked at it. And you guys, I chose, if I hung around anyone, it was always, and this is so true, it was always the ones that were shunned because they were poor, or they may not have been as smart as the next person. That's the ones that I always hung around. I didn't care what people thought about. That's a person right there. I didn't care if they didn't drive a fancy car, was an A student. I didn't care. We should be friends to the friendless, and that is the bottom line. And that's who I was always. I think this being people being drawn to me for a reason started way back when I was a young person. I think it started back then because I didn't pick the popular person, and I didn't pick so and so because they had all this money and wore these nice clothes. It didn't matter to me. What made that person was who they were and how they conducted themselves. I might have been a little more grown up advanced wise, but hey. Next is Corinthians chapter 10, verse 24. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. And that is very true. And all that goes hand in hand with, having a servant's heart. We should, sometimes we don't have to seek it out. It's right there in front of us. Like I said in the beginning, I think God puts people in our lives that can help us the most. I know it for a fact. It's not a coincidence. God uses people for the better of his purpose. And I believe that totally. Nothing is coincidence. There's another in Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 25. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes other will be refreshed. And that's true. I think when we give unselfishly and with our heart and out of love, I believe, and we're not doing it because we're expecting anything in return. I think we do prosper. I think when the time comes when we need something or someone, then, you know, it's always made available. I really believe that. So another one is in Titus chapter 3, verse 14. Our people must learn to devote themselves to doing what is good in order to provide for urgent needs and not live unproductive lives. Boy, that's a good one too. If we go through our lives just being focused on ourselves and forgetting about other people, that says a lot about us. As Christian people, that is part of what having a servant's heart is. Each thing we do is it's very productive, especially when we help other people with something that they need, the people that are lost, the people that don't they just don't know what to do, and they're just at a loss, and that itself results in a lot of things, like depression and, yes, suicide. But I think right when God knows how people feel, and he, like I said, he sends people to you when you need them the most, and therefore we should give praise for that, because we're people need people. We really do. And God does use people to the purpose of his glory, and that is to love one another and help one another and to serve others before ourselves. That is the golden rule right there. Okay, another one in Romans, the 15th chapter, the first verse. We who are strong ought to bear with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves. That's another good one right there. You ever been out and about and someone is just feeling so down, and to the point where you can feel it. It shows in their body language. It just shows. In my case, they walk up to me, and I guess that's my gift. I guess that I appear to be. There's just certain things about certain people that draw other people in, and I think God uses our talents to help and encourage one another, because we need that, because being down here on this earth is not easy. We need that encouragement. We need even to face another day. Some people are going through a lot and it's not their fault. And just having that shoulder to lean on, and just to be able to feel like that you can trust that person and be able to tell them what's on your mind and what you're hiding in your heart that is absolutely eating you alive. And it will. I believe that, what do I do with my water, that sometimes we get a little intimidated because we're like, what if I talk to this person and the next thing I know, they've told someone, and it's went all around the neighborhood when they swore to me that they would not say anything. And that's a very touchy thing. I'm like this. If someone tells me something, I will not speak about it, because that's a moment between that person trusted you enough to bring and tell you about it. And I've always been, I don't talk about things that other people tell me, because if they come to you, they're not wanting you to be the National Enquirer. You just I'm not a talker like that. If someone is hurting and they come to you and tell you everything, and I'm not a broadcaster. I don't believe in that. It's not right. Especially if you're someone's friend and they come to you and they tell you something, you keep it to yourself. And if they want to come back and talk about it again, you don't have to worry about something getting back to them and you hurting them even more than they were when they got started, if that makes sense. But yeah, because a lot of times people are sensitive to their feelings and their life, and they don't want their business aired, and I don't blame them. Do unto others if that you have want done unto you, as we always say. So another one is in Luke 10, the 27th verse. He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as thyself. How hard is that one? Sometimes, though, I've had some neighbors that usually how I deal with things, I just don't say anything. I go about my business. I don't pick a fight, but I won't run from it neither, if that makes sense. If I'm being attacked, I will take it for myself, but that's a hard one because we just don't know sometimes what's going on at our neighbors, and we try not to judge, but we're a little bit leery of that. And that one's hard for us. But yeah, we never know who's at that next door. But we have to do that. And a lot of times if there's conflict, the best thing you can do is walk away. That way that no one says anything they regret. And maybe it'll cool down a little bit and go from there. The next one is in the book of Mark, the 12th chapter, the 31st verse. Laura said, I myself find that God loves my neighbors and I pray for them. I don't speak to them though. Yeah, Laura, sometimes that's all we can do for people is pray for them, because sometimes that can, getting too close can put us in situations that we don't want to be in sometimes. And that's the way we are. We have neighbors and stuff like that, and some of them speak and some of them don't. I figure if they have something to say. And I had a neighbor back here, his dog, it's a big white dog, it's a really beautiful dog, and it keeps getting out. Well, it got out Sunday and went down to the forestry, which I would say is a good 2 miles from where he lives. And there were some people in the forestry because it was a nice day. And the dog was growling at children. So they called animal control and they come and got it. But if you're going to have a pet, be responsible. There's another big one over there. And I think I don't know. But it would come over here and it was friendly, but it was growling at children, and the dog catcher come and got him and took him on. There are just some people that do not. If you got too many pets and you can't keep them under control, don't, because it was constantly. And one time the little cat that keeps coming here that we kind of adopted, Shannon said he was up against that door, pushing her up against the door, trying to get away from him because he was coming up the steps. But I don't blame the animal. It's the owner's fault for not keeping it up. It was a beautiful white dog. It was a big dog, but he didn't take precautions to make sure it was kept, because there's a leash law. And boy, I'll tell you, sometimes being responsible is more than just saying that dog's mine. It's about keeping the dog really, to me, the dog should have been in a larger area, like out on a farm somewhere where it could run and be free, and you know what I mean? Because big dogs, they like to run and everything. I don't think they like to get out too. They don't want to stay chained up all the time. And see, they didn't have a fence, so. But anyway, and then they put out on Facebook about the dog going. I ain't going over there. I don't know those people, and I don't. I know that sounds bad, but I don't. I wouldn't go over there. So, but people really need to keep their dogs tied up. Or I couldn't see keeping a big dog tied up. Why do you want a dog that you have to keep tied up all the time? If you don't have a fenced in yard, don't punish the dog. They like to run and frolic and stuff like that. So, Mark 12, 12th chapter, the 31st verse. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. I know sometimes we get to the point where we see something and we're a little bit leery of things. And, sometimes being a little, now if they spoke to us, we'd speak back. But, I'm not the type of person that rules a neighborhood, and I wouldn't want to. So, you know, and this is New Year's Eve, and we're coming up on a new year, and to me, that gives us new opportunity to possibly, help even more people. And we're here and we're alive, and we may, a lot of people may not have everything they need, but we get another chance at another year, and I think that's wonderful. And I always say, we're given a new year so that we may do things better than the year before, because we all at times fail and fall short, and we get discouraged, and we're like, why? God, that's why that Jesus Christ died on that cross. That is the why. Because when God looked upon the earth and seen everything that was going on, and he had to do something about it. So, and he, in return, he sent his son so that we may not know death, the second death, but everlasting life. And one day we will all leave this earth, and you know and hopefully we will be in the presence of the Lord. And but we have, until then, we have to keep going. We have to keep serving other people, have a servant's heart, be the difference in the world that maybe some people have never experienced before. And just let people know that, hey, there is love out there for you. People are, we need to make ourselves dispensable to other people so that we ourselves can be I think through helping others we are blessed as well. And after all, we need to count those blessings anyway, because I'm sure that everyone can name a blessing in their life, a blessing that stands out to them. So out there in the chat, what do you believe was your biggest blessing of 2024? I think my biggest blessing was being able to be motivated by God, and I know that's who it was, to create this channel and come on and share the words in this book that are absolutely true. Now, do I know everything? Do I have am have I went to college for this? No. But you don't have to. You can. I think this is a thing where I learn right along with you guys. And I'm not perfect, but I think being able to have this channel, let people know that there is more beyond this world that we can bank on, but there are things that we must do to obtain that. Mine would be each time one of my sons confirmed to be their belief in God and say they pray. Yes, Laura, that right there is a wonderful blessing, because you know what? When they pray, God, I think God really protects these young people, when they pray and they tell God about what's going on in their life, and he already knows already, but he wants that communication, and that is a great blessing that, even as they grow into adulthood, and kids grow up so fast. Seems like yesterday Shannon was learning how to walk. I find their crosses around the house, which tells me they carry them around. Right. Which is a good thing. I think that they believe, and they're young people, and I think as they get older, they will discover more and more. And I think that, the Bible is a very interesting book. Not only is it the truth, it tells, it's kind of a guidepost for, I think it'd be a good guidepost for anyone, especially young people. And, to have that faith, I don't think faith is an automatic thing. I think faith is gained through, first of all, praying and reading the Bible, because, I think that that's the way we get that faith, that, and by life's experiences. Like, for instance, we're going through something and so much time passes, because God can take the most god awful situation and turn it into a blessing for his purpose. And you're like, well, how can he take something bad and do that? Because he is God, he is God, and he can do that. And that's his, that's the God we serve. He is at the helm in our defense, and we should be very thankful. And Joanne says, mine is my granddaughter wanting to start coming to church. Good. With me, and that she still believed in Jesus because she has gotten away from believing. She even volunteers in Sunday school class. Wonderful, Joanne. That is beautiful. That is so good. And even as adults, we get away from believing sometimes when things in our life go wrong, and it's almost like a snowball effect. And we want to start depending upon us, not God, but us, when in fact, God is the one that can help us and give us strength through our everyday life. And we all do that. Everyone kind of backslides, and I guess that's what they call it. And I think the reason why we get so enthralled with the ways of the world, that we get blinded and kind of get edged away from God and his teachings, not on purpose, but sometimes it's just a gradual thing where, it starts out little bitty and then it just kind of expands a little bit. But yes, that happens to all of us. And I'm so proud of her, Joanne, and your boys, Laura. That is wonderful. And you know what? When you bank on things like when you invest in those things like you two have talked about, the rewards are worth more than gold. It really is, because it's a blessing. And I foresee, maybe in the future, Joanne, maybe she'll have her own her own class. Joanne, she has a lot of. Oh, I know, Joanne, you said something about that. She has had a lot of trouble in school with being bullied and is so confused about herself. I'm hoping this will help her. I wonder why they're bull. I do not like a bully, and I feel, Joanne, I will be praying for her, because there's nothing worse than a bully, and I don't know why they're doing it. God knows why. And sometimes, the kids turn around and walk away, and then they are continually picked on, and that's not good. Right. Laura said God created her. No one can say who she is except for the one who created her. God says she is a child of God. Right. Thanks, Laura. That's happened to me at different times. I got away from God, but I always come back. I am closer than ever now. Right. Sometimes I think something that really, really draws us in is when we go through so much and we forget to pray and ask God for his help, and we try to do it all ourselves. That's where we come into that trouble zone that gets us in trouble. We are everything we are because God is everything that he is. And we get stubborn and hard-headed, and, well, I can handle this, and I'll this, that, and the other. And then it becomes like a snowball, and we realize, gee, maybe I shouldn't, I need to go to God with this, because he is my creator. He created everything. And yeah, it happens to a lot of us. It happens to a lot of ministers where they go into a church and just go through the motions. And boy, that's a danger zone right there. But in this coming year, I'm looking forward to this coming year with you guys. I think it's going to be a wonderful year. I think it's going to be a year of learning. And I'm just so glad to be able to do this channel and kind of get the word out there, and along with you guys have a lot of intellect yourself, and just be able to tell people that there are things out there beyond this world that are far greater than any material thing on this earth. And that is the promise of eternal life and everything that comes with it. So, my New Year's resolutions, are there any New Year's resolutions? Sometimes we get so many New Year's resolutions that we don't even. When you get too many resolutions is when you totally fail. And I haven't really thought about mine. I haven't really thought about mine. I mean, we know none of us are perfect, but I haven't thought about mine. Sometimes I tend to. I'm so glad I found your channel. I feel so blessed to have gotten to know so many good people on the channels I watch. Well, thank you, Joanne. I appreciate that. See, Joanne, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that nothing is a coincidence, and God puts people together. He brings people together, and I really believe that. And sometimes by bringing others together, I don't really know. 2024 was not a good year for me. I'm praying that I can stay on course for 2025. Yeah, sometimes, like things that happened in the previous year, I think even though they were kind of rough, I think in a way, there's lessons there, and we begin to brainstorm on how to improve or think about, and sometimes those are not your fault, by the way, but we're all here, we're all alive, or we have our children and our one another, and we're all in pretty good health, and it's a lot to be thankful for. It's like they say, give thanks with a grateful heart. It just, but it starts you to, when the new year comes, you kind of do a review of the previous year. And I think sometimes to say, we never know what God may do in our lives. We might plan one thing and He may have other plans for us. We just never know. But a lot of people do make resolutions, but here's my resolutions. I seek to make those who I care about, my friends and people who I love, even happier in 2025. So there we go. That's really the only thing I could think of, but it's really good, so good to be, have a channel like this that actually puts out something more than just thank you, Laura. I'm just one of those loving kind of people, but I don't know. God works in mysterious ways. He may have a big year planned for all of us. We never know. But it's good to know that we can go to our friends and God and say, hey, look, God knows what we're going through, but to your friends and say, hey, this is going on. And because sometimes when you're so ungodly and upset, oh, yes, Laura is too. She's a sweetie. And you're so upset, it's just good to have that communication line with a physical person. Not that I'm saying that, you know what I mean, with a on earth person, but it's good to have that where you can lean on somebody, because sometimes our things that happen to us is so overwhelming that our minds are totally blown, and we can't sometimes relaying that to that second person. They have an insight that you may not have had because you're so really upset. So we are. And I think Brian, he's coming on with me next week. He had a couple of appointments he had to do, and I think one of them's a doctor's appointment, and I wished him well, and I said, I hope everything turns out. But like, I think it'll be therapeutic for him to be, in a way, I think Brian feels kind of lonely. I really do. And I think he needs that, to know that, he lost his mother, but he is not alone, and God is always there. But I feel a sense of loneliness about him. That's why he has all these sisters out here. And I think him being able to relay what he feels will be so good for him to purge that out of his soul, and it's good for him. Not that people want to know his business. That's not what this is about. It's about helping Brian, letting him know that God walks right beside him, And we're all there for him. It's so important when someone loses someone. Yeah, Brian's a sweetheart that, you know, he's saying, wow, here's all Brian is blessed with females. Here's all of these females, and they've never met me, and they love me so much, and they're willing to, they're with me. If he probably knows if he ever needs anything, all he's got to do is contact us, and we'll be there for him because everyone in their lifetime will experience loss. And some people deal with it differently. And I think sometimes talking about it, yeah, Brian is very kind. Brian is a Christian. There's not a doubt in my mind. And he really, what's that word? He really strives to do good whenever he can. Every time he really does. So he will be on with me next week. The subject matter will be grief and loss. And, even in the Bible, during Lazarus' funeral, Jesus wept. Of course, Jesus was responsible for uh, rising Lazarus from the dead as well. But even Jesus wept during Lazarus' funeral. So, if somebody gets teary eyed, that means that their feelings are coming out. And sometimes crying is the best way to eliminate that stress. It really is. Some people say, well, you don't want somebody to cry all the time. Well, no. But sometimes when we cry, it releases those emotions that have been bottled up inside us for so long. And it's like a burden's been lifted. But yes, I do think I don't know, I just sense it. I don't know what it is. And it could be because his mother, he was there with his mother a lot. And with a caregiver, especially one that, like say like it's a family member, and when you're a caregiver and you're used to doing that and that person's no longer there, it's like a part of you went with them. It really is. So we'll go ahead and close in prayer. Thank you, ladies, for being here. You guys are fantastic people. I am really blessed and humbled by both of you. And we'll go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, may this new year bring happiness and love to everyone that hears this message. May your light of love shine into the world like it did when you were born in that manger all those years ago. Lord, lift up those this coming year that may have lost a loved one or is fighting depression and don't know which way to turn, Lord. Lift them up and let them know that there is hope beyond what they could ever imagine if they just turn to you and tell you all that is in their heart. This new year coming gives us another chance to be better than before. And thank you, Lord, for blessing us with our very lives, though we may come upon some obstacles, Lord, but we know that you are there and you are standing in the distance, but you are keeping a good eye on us and you love us and you want us nothing more for us than to prosper in our life. I thank you for loving me and forgiving me when I fall short, and it's been a few times. And also all the other people that if they come to you and confess of their sins, that they can be forgiven, that those shackles of sin no longer have to hold them down, that you release them and tell them, go and sin no more. We love you, Lord. Thank you for this upcoming new year. And all this we pray in your heavenly name. Amen. Yeah, Brian is he's, I don't know. There's just some people you meet and there's just, you mesh, there's just something about that person that although you may have never met them in person, you feel like that you've known them all your life, which is a good thing. And I think that, like I said, God does not make mistakes and He does not put people, sometimes people come into your life that are not so nice and want to cause you harm. But you know what? The spirit of discernment is there, and you will be able to figure out the good seed from the bad seed. So until I have an auction this coming Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so until next Tuesday, I love you guys. Happy New Year. And I'll catch you the next time. Love you guys. Bye bye.